What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Monday, the 14th of October, 2024. I'm Alana Bose reporting for News Source with the latest tonight. And let's begin by telling you that former Minister of Finance Winston Jordan is of the view that it would be better for the government to give each Guyanese living in Guyana a $100,000 cash grant as opposed to the $200,000 per household grant as announced by the President. Mr. Jordan's proposal targets adult Guyanese living in the country, but according to him, it would resolve a number of challenges confronting the government, including the big question of what constitutes a household.
To avoid this problem that is inherent in this issue about households, they should step back and say, listen, we're listening. They indeed got problems with this question about household. We are going to be given, as I suggested on Thursday morning on CAMS TV, $100,000 to Guyanese residents, adult Guyanese residents. That is easier. Because first of all, here's the advantages of doing that. One, you got a problem, you don't have to have a problem anymore about defining households. Because a lot of people think a house is a household. Is that true? A house is not a household.
The former finance minister who served under the David Granger administration was at the time speaking on Nation Watch, a televised opposition program which aired on Sunday. Adult Guyanese, he said, could be easily identified using the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, Register of Registrant database and supplemented with data from the Guyana Revenue Authority and the National Insurance Scheme. President Ali, in making the announcement last Thursday, said Guyanese households would benefit from the one-off cash grant of $200,000. And according to the country's Vice President Barra Jagdeo, based on the last census, Guyana has a total of 264,000 households. But Mr. Jordan was keen on pointing out that the census captures all households, including households with foreign nationals, and as such, the targeted households would be far less than 264,000. He said, in addition to that, the initiative in its current format stands the risk of failing to bring relief and financial assistance to those who need it most.
But this $200,000, let us be very, very clear about it, based on what he has said, is a universal $200,000. So the person who's announcing it will get $200,000 because he has a household. Jagdeo will get $200,000. All his ministers will get $200,000. All of the fat cats will get $200,000. You know who would not generally get the $200,000?
The poorest of the poor.
The poorest of the poor. The person sleeping on the GPO. The person sleeping on the corner of Guyana stores. The person sleeping in the parks, on the benches in the parks, and so on. The squatter settlements. The dam, the people who live on the dam, the people who live on the seawall, and so forth. They're not going to get $200,000.
The one-off cash grant is intended to cushion the high cost of living, but Jordan said the approach is temporary, and once the finances are dispersed, Guyanese can find themselves in the same position they were in prior to the disbursement.
I don't see these sets of measures, as populist as they are, as being the result of any studied approach to the cost of living problems that you have in Guyana. I mean, a studied approach would have first of all accepted that there is a huge problem with cost of living in Guyana. There's an even bigger problem of poverty in Guyana. All right? I mean, international studies, international organizations have put that anywhere between 35 and 40-something% poverty.
Jordan said had a government adopted the Clive Thomas Buxton proposal, Guyanese would have been in line to benefit from an annual transfer of resources as long as oil is being pumped. Weighing in on the tax measure that was also announced by the president, Jordan said the poor are not likely to benefit, with many of them working in formal settings. He said it is the middle class and the rich who are likely to take in the benefits, adding that the initiatives by the government have fallen short in providing support to those who truly need it. More news in a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step. Or one promise. One thrill. One first time. One deep breath. One leap of faith. One day to remember. Or one night to forget. One moment. So many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life. Just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just 4 walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
I am Simone Ford, and I'm the owner of Siege Eco Clean Services. I provide my services to the oil and gas sector. We provide janitorial services which are environmentally friendly. So we produce healthier homes and healthier workspaces.
Are you ready to elevate your career with a world-class education from the comfort of your home? The University of Excellence Management in Business, UEMB, Guyana's premier accredited and recognized tertiary institution, invites you to join one or more of our comprehensive 145-degree programs. Registration is now open for our next intake on September 9 and every 2 months thereafter. Enroll now and secure a 50% scholarship. Choose from an ABA, BBA, MBA, MPM, EMBA, EMPM, and LLM degrees, available in 14 specializations. Whether you hold an undergraduate degree, a diploma, or relevant professional qualifications, apply. We are an accredited degree-granting tertiary institution in Guyana. Our programs are also equivalent to a USA Regional Accredited degree. Submit your completed application form, proof of entrance qualification, and any form of ID. For more details, visit our administrative office in the Critchlow Labour College, front building, Wolford Avenue, or call 225-1395, 225-1397-9, 618-3434, and 681-3434. Progressing to a degree is as easy as ABC with UEMB. Deal with the best and forget the rest.
I can't wait until tomorrow.
Yes!
Start packing this, yeah?
I ain't start packing yet. Usually I pack a couple hours before and I go. Drive. I got my phone, I got my keys, my charger, my
Procrastinating planning for the future? Well, that's never a good idea. Let Demerara Mutual and Demerara Fire and General help you get started with planning for your future today. I'm with Dem.
The Working People's Alliance, WPA, today welcomed the president's announcement of a one-off $200,000 cash transfer as a baby step, but said the head of state failed to address the issue of poverty, which has become pervasive, when he addressed the opening of the National Assembly last week. During a press conference today, WPA Executive Dr. David Hines said the speech by the president appears to be an admission that the measures which he boasted the PPP government has implemented to increase disposable income to the Guyanese people have either been inadequate or have failed to achieve their outcome.
While the WPA generally welcomes the initiatives announced by the president as a baby step forward, we bemoan the fact that, taken as a whole, they represent more of an election gimmickry rather than a genuine attempt to address the country's debilitating social and economic problems. Although electioneering is part of political life, any responsible government should ground its stewardship of the country in a broader framework.
Dr. Hines has said the WPA believes that the short-term relief measures will, in the final analysis, do very little to bring about sustainable change in the economic fortunes of workers, families, and the poor. Consequently, the party noted that Guyana urgently needs a sustained socio-economic development plan rather than mere temporary measures as outlined by the president.
Nowhere in the president's address, for example, did he frontally confront the persistent poverty that continues to take its toll on the populace. It is estimated that approximately 42% of Guyanese live on less than $5.5 per day. This is unacceptable in a country which boasts one of the highest GDP growths in the world. The WPA continues to believe that direct cash transfers to the citizens is one of the most potent ways to tackle these problems.
Dr. Hines has said while the cash transfer would be welcomed by Guyanese, especially the poor and working poor, Guyanese must look at the bigger picture. He said the WPA feels that a viable cash transfer policy must be linked to poverty alleviation and must also benefit from a feasibility study to determine its scope and design, adding that it must be grounded in law so that it is shielded from political abuse. Reminding Guyanese that it was well-respected economist and Working People's Alliance WPA executive Dr. Clive Thomas who first lobbied for direct cash transfers for citizens more than 6 years ago, leader for the Alliance for Change Nigel Hughes on Friday said now that government has acted on the recommendations, it must put in place the necessary framework to govern the distribution of the one-off $200,000 cash grant, which was recently announced by the president. The AFC leader said the announcement by President Irfan Ali came with little details and an attempt by the Vice President Barra Jagdeo to explain who constitutes a household and how that household would be identified and qualify for the grant has also fallen short of providing a clear framework for implementation. The Vice President on Thursday said the government, for a large part, would rely on data from the Guyana Power and Light and the Guyana Water Incorporated to identify households in addition to other sources. But Mr. Hughes warned that such a method could leave thousands of Guyanese households out in the cold, even those residing on the coast.
The president has said it's going to be given to the household. Does a household mean a single family living in a single dwelling? Does it mean, does a household mean several families, each living in the same location? Each family will get a handout. There's no statutory definition for this. What is the position with citizens who are in care institutions, the Palms, for example, night shelters? What is the position with squatters? What is the position with minors who are in the interior and are single? What is the position with single persons who are still living with their parents?
Hughes said the absence of critical information could result in confusion and social disruption, and as such, the government should develop a clear statutory and regulatory framework to guide the issuance of the grants.
So we believe, first of all, there should be a statutory framework that says this amount that is being distributed is based on recommendations made by appropriately qualified economists. Secondly, the framework for the distribution will do a couple of things. One, define what a household is. Two, the framework should provide for persons who have complaints, who believe they've been overlooked, who believe they have been unfairly treated, to actually challenge the non-distribution, or if they think somebody has got twice, there must be some sort of framework for those concerns to be addressed.
He also made a case for there to be a clear identification of the specific categories of households. Hughes said the method proposed by the Vice President could result in thousands of households being unduly disqualified.
That rules out a large number of people who are squatting, even in Georgetown. You don't even have to go outside of Georgetown. There are issues in terms of what happens in the indigenous areas. And so, as part of our patriotic duty, we believe this ought to be regulated. It ought to have a very clear framework so the persons who who are affected by it, who believe that they might have been unfairly treated, or in some areas where you have several families living in one household. What happens there? What happens if it's the landlord?
He said the government should learn from the mistakes of the past and put clear systems in place. During the distribution of the $25,000 COVID cash grant, thousands of persons complained that they were left out of the distribution and the grant ended without them benefiting.
The Guyana Elections Commission GECOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31st, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. How to apply for registration? You must visit the GECOM registration office that is responsible for the registration of persons from your area of residence to apply for registration or name change or correction. You must be in possession of the following source documents as might be relevant: original birth certificate or valid Guyana passport for new registration, original marriage certificate and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by way of marriage, original deed poll and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by deed poll, original naturalization certificate and original birth certificate or valid passport in the case of naturalization. This registration exercise will end on November 29th, 2024. For further information, please contact GECOM on the following hotline numbers: 225-027729, 226-6557, 223-9650, or visit the GECOM website at www.gecom.org.gy.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Monster! Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors, that my crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Buster, bust the flavors. Buster, bust the flavors.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Minister of Human Services and Social Security Dr. Vindhya Prasad is accusing the Auditor General's office of providing a report riddled with flawed conclusions, inaccuracies, and omissions on the performance of the Women's Innovation and Investment Network program, which is managed by her ministry. The report, which was laid in the National Assembly last Thursday, found the program to be highly flawed, benefiting only 16% of the vulnerable women who had signaled their interest in it. But jumping to the defense of the government's flagship initiative, the Human Services Minister said during the period under review, 2021 and 2022, 6,203 women were trained under the WIIN program, surpassing the target of 6,000 persons. The government had injected $185.5 million into the program for the 2-year period, including $64 million in 2021. The initiative, the Human Resources Minister explained, was designed to strategically train women in a number of areas and boost women's empowerment and economic independence. She said the performance audit by the Audit Office of Guyana failed to take into consideration those critical facts. According to Minister Prasad, since its launch in 2021, the WIIN program has revolutionized access to training for women across Guyana, offering the first ever free hybrid model with zero entry requirements. She further explained that the program ensures that women in every region, regardless of background or circumstance, can gain valuable skills through the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute. According to her, WIIN is in keeping with government's commitment to accessibility and inclusivity and breaking down barriers that she believes have long kept many women from opportunities for advancement. She said it is a bold and transformative initiative that challenges the status quo and expands opportunities for all. The Human Resources Minister complained that although extensive documentation and information for the period were provided, the report contains a number of unsubstantiated conclusions, and she wants to know whether the Audit Office report was framed negatively to diminish the impact that the program has on the lives of thousands of Guyanese women, even as she admitted that there is room for improvement. According to her, the report acknowledges the significant progress made since WIIN's inception. It undermines the achievements with overly negative conclusions. Further, she said the report's assertion that there was a lack of full participation from relevant government agencies and technical and vocational institutions in the course development process is blatantly false. She also rubbished the claim that the certificates awarded through the program are of no value, stating that the practical value and relevance of the training provided should not be overlooked by a performance audit. Brushing aside the opposition's repeated calls for a clean voters list, Vice President Barra Jagdeo said he believes the issue is a red herring one. As of March, the voters list had more than 700,000 names, almost the size of the country's population. And according to the opposition, the list is bloated and creates room for voter impersonation, among other electoral problems. The main opposition parties, the Partnership for National Unity APNU and the Alliance for Change AFC, have been engaging the international community on the issue with the hope of pressuring the government into supporting legislative and constitutional changes to the country's electoral laws. But at his weekly press conference last Thursday, Vice President Barra Jagdeo said the opposition is attempting to cast doubt over the electoral process, knowing fully well that his party will once again emerge victorious at the 2025 elections. Mr. Jagdeo said it would be unconstitutional to remove Guyanese from the voters list, particularly those living abroad. He reminded that it was the government and the opposition that altered the constitution to remove residency as a requirement.
That the issue went to court, and the Chief Justice ruled that it would be unconstitutional to do so because we together, APNU, AFC, PNC, all agreed when we had the constitutional reform. But those who were not in AFC, they would have been in the PNC at that time. Nigel Lewis might have been, I don't know where he was, so either the PNC or AFC at that time. But they agreed to remove one very important clause from the Constitution that was there before, that you should be registered in the past. To be on the voters list, you had to fulfill 3 criteria. 1, be Guyanese. 2, be 18 years and above. and 3, be resident in Guyana. That was the old constitution. That is, only then you will be registered to vote. We all agreed in the constitutional reform to remove the residency requirement. So all you need now to be registered, Guyanese 18 years and above.
He said once an eligible voter is placed on the list, he or she cannot be removed unless they become deceased.
So we all agreed that we can remove people who are dead. And we suggested that they do this in a mass way. Get all the names, send them to the political parties, publish them online in the newspapers everywhere for objections. And if there are no objections, remove all those names. If it's 20,000, 30,000 people, everyone who has died since.
He said the number of persons on the voters list is as high as the country's population because the Guyana Elections Commission conducts continuous registration, coupled with the fact that a large number of Guyanese reside overseas.
They know about once you have a continuous registration, that's called continuous registration, that the numbers on your voters list could get very high, more than the resident population sometimes, or as high as the resident population, because you calculate it on the basis of those who are here and those who have migrated too. So if they say 800,000 people live in Guyana now, or 850,000, but 400,000 have migrated and their names are still on the list could be 1.25 million people on the list. But if they're not here, only 850,000 can vote.
The Carter Center is among international observers that flagged the country's voters list in 2020, pointing out at the time that 660,988 persons were registered to vote, an increase of 15.5% from the 2015 election. It said the number of registered voters seemed to be disproportionate to the country's estimated population and therefore recommended that before the next election, the government reassess and overhaul both the process and the technology used to create and manage the voter registration database. However, while the National Assembly in December 2022 amended a number of the country's election laws, the voters list remains an issue of contention, with the Guyana Elections Commission stating repeatedly that it could only comply with the existing laws. Police investigations are continuing their probe into a suspected murder-suicide case involving 2 Venezuelan nationals, which took place on Saturday afternoon in Station Street, Kitty. The 2 dead persons have been identified as 25-year-old Venezuelan woman Yuni Zamora Castro and a 60-year-old known only as El Tio. Police investigators were called to the scene on Saturday afternoon, moments after the man was seen attacking the woman in the yard and then retreating to the house. When officers arrived at the scene, they found the lifeless body of the 25-year-old woman in the yard with multiple stab wounds. A search of the house revealed the 60-year-old man's body with suspected self-inflicted wounds. The man's body was also found hanging from the ceiling of the house. Persons in the area said the 2 were seen arguing loudly earlier in the day, and the woman reportedly complained to her friends that she was ending her relationship with the man over his jealous ways. They believe that she was leaving the house when she was attacked and murdered by the man. The investigations are ongoing.
GECOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. It is the civic duty and legal responsibility of all persons who meet the eligibility requirements to apply for registration. By doing so, you will be ensuring that you are issued a national identification card and be included in the official lists of electors for future elections, providing you meet all eligibility criteria. Persons could be prosecuted, fined, or even sent to prison for failing or refusing to apply for registration. This registration exercise will end on November 29, 2024. For further information, contact GECOM on 225-027729 or visit the website www.gecom.org.gy.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step. Or one promise. One thrill. One first time. One deep breath. One leap of faith. One day to remember. Or one night to forget. One moment. So many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life. Just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
Across the region tonight, Venezuela has cancelled the passports of dozens of journalists and activists since President Nicolas Maduro claimed a re-election victory, part of what rights groups say is an intensifying campaign of repression against the authoritarian president's opponents, the Financial Times reported on Saturday. At least 40 people, mostly journalists and human rights activists, have had their passports annulled without explanation, the newspaper reported, citing Caracas-based rights group Laboratorio de Paz. The group warned that the number of people who have had their passports cancelled is likely due to be much higher due to Venezuelans' fear of reporting cases. People have had their passports confiscated by authorities while attempting to board flights from the country's main airport, the newspaper reported, citing the rights group. At least 8 people have died and thousands are stranded without power after violent storms swept across Brazil over the weekend. Central and southeastern parts of the country have been hit by winds of up to 60 miles per hour and daily rainfall reaching up to 10 centimeters, according to the National Institute of Meteorology. 7 people are known to have died in Sao Paulo, Brazil's most populated state, mainly due to falling trees and infrastructure from the strong winds and heavy rainfall. Residents of the southeastern state described the unexpected downpour as brief but really intense. Blackouts have engulfed large parts of Sao Paulo since Friday, with water supply problems also reported. The energy firm Enel has said that more than 1.3 million homes and businesses are still without electricity. The company said it was aiming to reconnect power by tonight. And finally tonight, international news. India and Canada have expelled their top envoys, along with other diplomats, as Justin Trudeau's government accused Indian agents of involvement in homicides, extortion, and violent acts on Canadian soil. Canadian police said the criminal activity had particularly targeted supporters of the pro-Khalistan movement, which seeks a separate homeland for Sikhs in India. Officials said a dozen agents had been involved, but did not confirm if they were directly linked to the June 2023 murder of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada. Delhi rejected the allegations as preposterous. Relations between Delhi and Ottawa have been strained since Trudeau said Canada had credible evidence linking Indian agents to Nijjar's murder. India has accused Trudeau of pandering to Canada's large Sikh community for political gain. The row led to a deterioration in ties, with India asking Canada to withdraw dozens of its diplomatic staff and suspending visa services. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Alana Bose reporting and encouraging you to have a safe night.